Welcome to Time to Thrive. This is your host, Bethany Meadows, and today's guest, Michelle Nedelec, has over 20 years experience in executive coaching, working with a range of clients from solopreneurs to eight-figure companies. Michelle is the co-founder and creative director at Awareness Strategies, where she provides marketing services using automation and digital solutions. So we're going to be digging into a lot of that today. She is the master of using strategy, systems, and the right state of mind to build and maintain a healthy business. And I recently found out she hosts nothing less than 5 different podcasts, which we're definitely going to have to explore. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I can barely host one podcast.
Because you do so much. You edit them. You have all this content afterwards. I'm like, yeah, we put a bumper on the back and off they go.
you just like, one is so much fun. 5 must be better. All right. All right. So on the show, we try and do a random question at the beginning. I'm in the South in Alabama, and here people want to know not just what you can do, but who you are. So we have this like crazy random questions that we ask, but we let fate decide which one you get. So if you want to pick between a number of 1 to 5, I'm shuffling the cards for those who can't see, and then 3. Okay. What is one surefire way to grab your attention?
Well,
keep it clean, Michelle. Keep it clean.
Exactly. My brain goes in the gutter immediately.
It's a family show here.
Talking business and business strategies is a sure way to get my attention. That one will take me out of almost any other conversation except for the first one.
Right. Okay, now everybody knows way too much.
Now you know way too much about me.
All right. Well, tell me how you got into business and marketing automation. That is not, we didn't sit in high school and go, I think what I'll do.
Right.
Is this really what feels complicated and techie? And
I think I'll go into the hardest industry there is. And it's kind of funny because I was talking to another business strategist and we were laughing. He goes, most people will go into digital marketing and then they go, wow, that's really hard. I think I'll go into coaching, and they're really good at coaching, but then they realize that consulting is really the way to go. And I went, wow, that's the exact opposite of what I did. So I went from consulting to coaching to owning a digital marketing agency, which is slightly crazy. However, it's good news for you guys. So yeah, I started off speaking. We were studying Bob Proctor's seminars. I actually was a computer programmer. I just graduated from programming school.
Some things there, the whole tech side of things.
Yeah, a little bit. And then when we found Bob Proctor's seminars, I was like, this is awesome. Everybody needs to know this. So I started speaking and doing programs to help business owners to be able to understand the laws of success and how they create their successes. And we had a ton of fun doing that. We created our own programs. We kind of veered off, and I started studying the mind and how we change our beliefs, all that kind of fun stuff, and what impacts us the most, the quickest, which obviously helps in marketing now because it's, how do you intrigue people? How do you bring them in? How do you entice them? And all of that is kind of sort of the same as therapy, ironically enough, and being able to kind of do that side of things. Now, I was fortunate enough that I had a partner in business and pleasures, we like to say, who is very much a techie. Whoops, sorry for hit the mic. And he was doing big project management things like working for IBM, Halliburton, creating software that had never been created before. It's usually 3-year projects, multi-million-dollar things. And at about 2015, I realized to get online, to go digital, I had to narrow in what it was I was working on. So I could either do something like, how to grow your entrepreneurial business or how to become a speaker, or just had to narrow down some way. And I was looking around at all the other people in the masterminds we were in and went, wow, none of these people like to do tech. Why don't we just pivot and get the tech done for them so that they can go and do their jam, the thing that they love to do, get in front of the camera, because that's where these people are meant to be, not behind a computer trying to figure out where that stupid button is. So that's what we did. We pivoted in about 2015, and we've been having fun with it ever since.
Wow. I think we all find the place we're supposed to be.
Right.
I just bump around into different things. And then, my husband is fond of saying, let's just do something, even if it's wrong. Like,
Right.
sometimes you just got to move and then it finds you. What's the difference, just for people who are, maybe not as marketing savvy as the two of us, right? What is the difference between marketing and business automation? What is that?
Awesome. So business automation is basically the bigger umbrella. It encompasses everything. Anything that a business would do to systemize and bring a computer in to do something that gets done repetitively. And that might be a phone system, an answering phone system, and it might be creating your widgets. So it's that all-encompassing. Anytime a computer gets brought into a company, why and how, and I mean, even to some extent, the computer on your desk is an automation of sorts, because if you were writing it by hand, it would be monotonous, whereas you get to just print off a bunch of Word docs. It makes it a lot easier.
Well, there's this balance that we kind of need to strike. We talk about in the Time to Thrive membership, one of the things that I really focus on with the business owners in the membership is about touch points. And it's about like mapping that customer journey and figuring out all the human touch points and all the product touch points and all the system touch points, and how we can wow, surprise, and delight our customers in these interactions that we have with them, identifying what they are and elevating them, doing something unexpected. I think the world kind of goes into this where we go one way and then we kind of like go too far, and then we like kind of reverse and come back the other way.
Entrepreneurs going too far?
No. And automation kind of did that. Like we automated everything to the point where it wasn't personal anymore. It wasn't relational anymore. It became very transactional. I mean, like, just call your
Seth Gordon says marketers ruin everything. We do.
Punch for this and punch 5 for that, and you get cut off and you're frustrated. So how do you help like bridge that gap between convenience to the business owner and the relationship, but still having both?
Absolutely. And to your point, I think we've all called a telco company and ended up on voicemail hell or whatever that system is. And we really just, at the end of the day, want, give me an agent. We press zero.
Answer the phone.
Yeah. And I think it's not so much, yes, marketers ruin everything. I totally agree with that, because we take something, we just run with it. But the cool part is that we also start to notice, hey, this worked, this didn't. How do we hone in on this?
We start innovating. Yeah.
But we've got to all be willing to kind of see that picture. I think the most important part is, as a business owner, as the CEO of your own company, you got to look at, to your point, what is your ideal client's ideal journey? And understanding that there's basically 4 stages of business. In the first stage of business, you're throwing spaghetti on the wall and trying to see what sticks. You have no clue who your ideal client is. You have no idea what journey they're on. You kind of think you might know, but it's usually you're just doing marketing for you, or what we call mere marketing. So I'd sell to myself thinking that I'm my ideal client. I'm not. And then we start to hone in on who's it really working for. And then we find kind of, I like dealing with these people like dealing with me. That product is more profitable. Let's go on that route. And we can start to filter out all the other things and clean off the walls from whatever else was going on. So that's the second phase, is that growing phase. Third phase is it worked with warm market or a hot market. It worked with a warm market. Now can we test it on a cold market? Does it work with Facebook ads, Google ads? Can we throw money at it and just have it escalate? That's nirvana. And then exit stage is when we sell it off. So depending on which stage we're at, depends on how well we understand that ideal client's ideal journey. Assuming you've been in business for a little bit, you got a couple of clients, the more clients you have, the more you can hone in on that. If you have at least 10, we're working with something. And then we start to figure out kind of what that message is. My rule of thumb is, my dad taught me, if you do it once, it's an accident, twice is a mistake, 3 times it's a habit. Kind of tells you about my childhood, but what it does come down to is, when we're, as business owners, if we're just saying the same thing 3 times, we can record that. We can have a video. We can, make that email a copy and just send it off every time. We can create a nurture campaign and say, every client I onboard asks the exact same question, so I'm going to give them the onboarding video and or whatever. That's when we want to automate it, is when I would do it anyways, but it's a waste of my time if I'm doing it 4 or 5, 25 times. That's when we automate it. What people are really good at is being sloppy and messy and creative and spontaneous. And that's where we want to use the people, especially the CEO, is doing things like going on stage and talking to people and creating connections, being able to, press 0 and actually talk to somebody and go, hey, yeah, I'm totally listening. What's going on for you? What haven't we be able to answer on the frequently asked questions or otherwise? And that's when we start to listen to people and what they really want. If it's something as simple as, what are your hours of operation? You don't want a person answering that at 3:00 in the morning. That's a complete and total waste of a human resource. You want to use your human resources for the fun, spontaneous things that we love to do as people, and then use computers to do the boring, monotonous things that just happen over and over and over again and need to be done exactly the same way every time.
Yes. Well,
that's my long answer.
I think too, automation and we've gotten so good at it. Now we can actually create this personalized experience, right? We can show them what we think based on their behaviors, what they're most looking for, what they're looking, and we can personalize the way we talk to them. I mean, there are websites now where you go to the website and it says, hey, Bethany. And I'm thinking, well, okay, that's not creepy. They know my name. How did they do that? No.
You don't want to really creep people out because, I can see in your kitchen window right now.
Yeah,
like,
right.
No, don't do that. Even if you can, don't do
that. You have a book titled Business Ownership Mindset. And so what does a business ownership mindset look like? I just asked you to summarize a book in one question, but
yeah, awesome. Well, and actually it's a lot easier than I think, because I think that it's important to understand, number one, going into business as an entrepreneur to me is the bravest thing that you can ever do. It is the best personal development school you will ever go to. It will require you to dig deep inside of yourself to find out things about you that you never wanted to know or never knew, or, the things that are surface to everybody else and obvious that you become aware of. So in understanding that there's basically 5 stages of life that we go through. Our first is consumers. We just bring stuff in. I need food. I need water. Gimme. And it's all good. That's fine. That's fantastic. And we can consume things kind of forever if we had to, I assume. But most of us get to the point where we're like, hey, I want more. And I have this contribution I want to bring. So we start to go and get a job because we want more money and we want to, I have arms and legs. I can stand there. I can ask people if they want fries with that. I'm cool. I can make some money off of this. So we now have a value that we're bringing in. And that brings us to the employee stage. Our ability to be able to do what our supervisors ask of us is kind of paramount to our success at that point. If that's all we did, we'd probably move into a union job where the rules are very much, I just want you to do this over and over again, and that's it. Don't stand up, don't stand down, just do that. So I don't talk about the whole union side a whole lot more than that because I don't. So then say you're an employee and you decide, hey, I want to do something more. I'm really good at this. Somebody might move you up into management or they might move you up into sales. The rules of management tend to be very similar to that of an employee, which is great. But if you sidestep and go into sales, now the rules of the game are different, which is great because now you can make more money per hour than you ever would have been able to make off of a wage.
Right.
And that's usually the enticement that people have going into sales. And you start to realize, hey, there's communication skills. There's ways that I show up. I may say things, but still show up in a different way. And you start to realize there's a lot of mind games going on in the whole sales thing, not only for you, but your clients and prospects. They don't always say what they mean. They're not always. Sometimes they're a little bit guarded and they have kind of more information behind the curtain that they're not telling you about. There's all sorts of these things going on, and the rules of engagement are totally different than they were in, do you want fries with that? So from that aspect, some people will stay in sales and become awesome at it. Some people stay in management. Some people go that next step and decide, hey, I am a special kind of crazy enough that I'm going to become an entrepreneur. So, hey, and guess what? The rules of the game change again, because once upon a time you were asked what to do. You were given direction. These are your tasks for the day. Go and do them. As an entrepreneur, that is a death sentence, to wait for your clients to tell you what to do or ask you for things. Right. You have to be the visionary. You have to be the one saying, hey, I see this as a problem in the world and I'm going to go and solve that problem. Or I see that people have a need and I'm going to go and solve that need. And all of your focus of control has to come from internal, or should I say, the more your focus of control is internal, the more successful you become. And by internal, of course, I don't mean it's all on your ego. I mean that it's being able to understand that just because the market is doing its thing doesn't mean that's the way your business is going to go. It's despite the market, I'm going to go this way. Despite whatever is happening outside of me, I'm going to go this way. Despite what's happening in my bank account, I'm going to go this way. And you have to have this ability to kind of put on your own little blinders and say, whatever's going on in the world, it's all good. Thanks for coming out. I'm going this way. And that's how you become successful as an entrepreneur. And it is completely contradictory to everything you've ever learned and to everything that everybody around you has ever learned, unless they're entrepreneurs.
This is an amazing lead into my next question, because one of the things that I have found with business owners that can make me a little bit crazy is that they don't often plan. And one of the things I love about you, you're very strategical, tactical, like I'm the same. And so when it really, I have not yet met a business owner who actually showed up to work with us as an agency and had a previous marketing plan. Like, well, what kind of marketing are you doing? And it's like whatever salesman showed up to sell them is what the marketing that they were doing. So yeah, like, all about having the plan and being strategic and really being a good steward of the funds that you have to make that, get the best return that you can for that, so that you can grow, right? That's the name of the game. And so why, can you speak to why it's so important for business owners to think strategically? Like they get back to that employee mindset sometimes where they're just working in the day-to-day in their business and they're not taking that time out to work on the business.
Absolutely. And I think part of it, just from the mindset perspective, is it's really easy to go back to old habits. It's like super easy to go back to old habits. So that's what they do. They get into a routine. Routines, path of least resistance. This is awesome. I'm just going to do this thing. And it becomes kind of, we have to work at becoming entrepreneurs. We have to surround ourselves. We got to get a coach. We got to surround ourselves with a community of entrepreneurs. We can't do this solo. Entrepreneurship is not a solo engagement, and business ownership cannot happen without other people involved. So understanding that you almost, and I say almost, cannot, and I say almost because I have helped one person crazy enough to become a millionaire without having a team. She had one person and me. So I guess that's sort of a team. It was the smallest team I've ever worked with, and it was a crazy amount of work. I don't recommend it for anyone. Because it's way easier to do with a team, and we just don't know what we don't know. And I think that's why we have to surround ourselves with coaches and other entrepreneurs and be in this community, because we think that what's out there in the future, what's beyond that next step, is exactly the same as what was going on behind us. And it's totally not true. That's like saying that, I don't know. I mean, I guess we look at it as, junior high is an extension of elementary school, and high school is an extension of junior high school, and college is an extension of high school. And they sort of have familiarities to it. You're surrounded by a bunch of other kids. You get a bunch of books. You study them. You just have to study more and do more and more and more and more. And so we think that when we go from these stages of an employee to a manager to an entrepreneur, that it's going to be just more and more and more. And that's not true. We have to understand the rules of the game and engage in those rules, which means letting go of things. which is super hard for us to do because we're like, oh, this is my baby and it's beautiful. And don't you love my baby? Isn't it cute? We bring it to the marketing team and they're like, wow, who came up with that logo? That's awesome. Hey, did you see the logo? Okay, so it's not so awesome. It's not the cutest baby we've ever seen. And, how do you feel about changing all of that?
Right.
Right.
Well, when 30 years ago, when someone started a business, it wasn't that complicated, right? They put their shingle out. Maybe they did a TV ad or, but ran an ad in the newspaper or, there was like these general brand type advertising took place.
Oh, but it was brutally expensive. Brutally expensive.
Brutally expensive, yes.
Like, right, we had a Yellow Pages ad for the longest time. I think it was a quarter page ad for $2,500 a month, which, and people are complaining that Infusionsoft's expensive. I'm like, get a Yellow Pages ad, put an ad in the newspaper, get a TV spot, get a billboard. Those are expensive. Magazines made a fortune on ads. And that's where, the Mad Men all came from, because advertising magazines was almost the nirvana of advertising, but it came with a huge price tag on it. And in order to be able to get your word out once upon a time, you had to go to network events. Keep in mind, at one point, you didn't have a car, right? You might have had a horse. You might have been able to walk over and talk to somebody. Like, it's to me, it's almost easy to romanticize what used to be. And I think what will help us more is to understand that wherever you are right now doing the thing that you're doing, I get it. It's tough. I get it. It's hard. I get it that, I get nauseous every time I think about doing something like that. But that's why you start to go out and find other people that have the skill sets that you're looking for. I do not touch my own books. I go to a bookkeeper. You want to get those things out. And marketing and messaging is way easier. It is way easier for Bethany to sell you than it is for you to sell yourself. Guaranteed.
Yes. Well, and that was kind of my point is way back then.
And Bethany's on
your widget and your gadget and whatever, and a business would find you. Now it's so crowded. It's so busy. It's so noisy. Doesn't matter what you do, what kind of business you're in, what kind of industry you're in, you're a marketer too, whether you like it or not. And even if you hire someone like Michelle or myself to work with you, you still need to be strategic. You still need to have that high level understanding of who your customers are and how you're solving their problems and making sure that your messaging is right. So there's still a need for you to understand marketing to some degree, even if you're outsourcing. One of the things that I struggle with is
absolutely more so now than ever.
One of the things I struggle with is tech, and you do not. Yep. So this is a good question.
Well, I shouldn't say I don't. I assign my tech to my tech team. So,
well, how nowadays everything's on SaaS, right? Everything's software as a service. I still remember the days when, it either came preloaded or you went to the store and you bought the CDs to stick in or the discs to stick that. I'm that old. We had discs. I actually started in one of my very first jobs. We didn't have computers. But I had the only one in the building, electric typewriter, that would show you the line on a digital screen before you hit enter, and then it would type the line. So you could check and make sure it was correct before you hit the button, and then it would that was high tech back then.
Right.
So we've come a long way, and I'm sure we're going a long way from here. But how do we determine what the right tech stack is? Because you can spend a fortune on software for this and software for that. And do you have any advice on that? Because that's something I audit pretty regularly to like, do I still need this? Am I using this?
Absolutely. So we have a couple of things that we do. So for smaller businesses, we have a business essentials blueprint, and being able to go in and do some tech analysis of what they actually need in order to get their business goals done. And I think it's if somebody's at the point where they're going like, I just want to know, am I on the right track? Is this going the way I want it to? It's a fantastic resource to be able to get somebody like Brad, get their eyes on it and look at, what do you want to do? Does the software do it? Is there other software out there that does it better? And how do we implement that without causing too much pain in the business? And then with big businesses, we have our digital adoption roadmap, which is a 1 month program of being able to really delve into their systems and their marketing. And that's pretty intense program, but that's for the bigger companies. But that's one way of doing it. For the most part, we use a WordPress site with Thrive theme on it, just because it's got an easy, what you see is what you get kind of thing. People can go in and change it. And it does e-commerce in the background, so we can do what we want to on the tech side of things. And then we use Infusionsoft or Keep Max Classic because it has everything in it that every business owner that we've come across has asked for. And we can go in and we know how to do it because all of our guys are techies, and guys and girls are techie, and they know where the button is. We always joke that, if you spend more than 20 minutes looking for that button on how to do that thing, you spent 20 minutes too long.
Yeah.
Get somebody else in there for you.
Looking for the button. If you had to recommend just one thing in online marketing to a business owner, what would be that one thing? If you can only do one thing, it's like City Slickers. It's that one thing.
You can only do one thing.
Yeah.
If I could only do one thing in business, ironically, I think I'd do LinkedIn because I think it comes back to connections. And if you do connections well, I think the thing that people need to understand is you're always selling person to person. You are, even if you're B2B, you're still person to person. You always will be, you have to be. And it's about creating those connections with people. Technology is there to assist in that. So without LinkedIn, I'd be going to networking events. Without networking events, without the technology involved in that, I'd be going door to door and knocking on the doors. So as long as we live in houses and I have neighbors, I can still network. And it really comes down to, it's about that connection that you're making, and technology is there to make that faster, more efficient, easier, right? Obviously, with the tech that we're using right now, we can have a conversation from Canada all the way down to where you are, and it's instantaneous, and it allows for these conversations to happen. But it's not the tech that's important; it's a conversation that we're having that's important in that connection.
That was an amazing answer. That's going to be a 1 minute to thrive. I can tell right now. Tech is changing fast. Tech changes fast, right?
Always
keeping up with it can be something. But
and if the world blows up tomorrow, we're going to go back to door knocking, going, "Hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? How can I help you?" We're going to be solving their problems, bringing them value. It's just the way it goes.
Do you see any trends? Like, what could we see in the next 5 years as far as digital marketing?
Digital marketing is going to be insane in the next 5 years. So one of them is smart technology, wearable technology. Are we going to get, the laptop on our wrist? Absolutely. I don't see that not happening. Anything that you've ever seen in Star Trek or Google Gadget or whatever, they're all coming into fruition. And it's going to be crazy and awesome. I totally think that the metaverse is going to be a thing, frightening or otherwise. I think it's going to be an awesome playground, and it'll allow creative people to do weird, wonderful things that they wouldn't be able to do on other platforms. And again, allow kids growing up to be able to connect all over the planet in ways that they wouldn't be able to otherwise, which is going to be awesome. Terrifying for the adults and the grandparents. We're going to be having meta connections with our grandkids, some virtual table. It's going to be a little weird, but
So I mentioned to you before we went on the show that I actually have my real estate license, and my brokerage is with eXp Realty, and they use a virtual world technology through Verbella, and it basically creates this world. So like, you make your avatar, and there's certain buttons that'll make your avatar dance, and you can walk through this virtual world and go ask accounting a question or go for training in one of the university forums. And so I can totally see the technology in that arena really becoming much more realistic. And so I guess, it's just that as we get comfortable with it, I think is as fast as it'll move, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So I wanted to wrap up the episode by giving you an opportunity to speak to business owners who the last few years have been tough with the pandemic and inflation and employee challenges. And I mean, it's just one thing after another, it feels like, for a lot of business owners. So can you share some words of encouragement for this new normal for business owners? And it kind of ended on that kind of high note.
Absolutely. I think it's important to understand that, well, one, I have this philosophy that says entrepreneurs are going to rule the world. They will inherit the world. They will save the world. And I think it's because they have to be able to find themselves as their own locus of control. So they have to be able to shut out the outside world, go internally and go, okay, what do I really want? And if I could create it, if I had a magic wand, what might it look like? And who could help me to be able to create this? And as we put that out there and we start having that conversation, weird and wonderful things start happening, and we start having different conversations with people, and we're like, yeah, we could totally do that. And it is super fun and inspiring to be in a room with entrepreneurs who are doing just that. And they're talking about, if we could do anything, what might we be able to do? And I think when we surround ourselves in that kind of energy and environment, that one, we're tuning off propaganda. Don't get me wrong. Well, I hate TVs. I hate radios. I'm willing to go on them. If people want to watch them, they can watch me, but I don't watch them because they have an agenda and they need to meet that agenda in order to make their numbers work. I mean, you just got to understand the business of media. And I spend as little time there as possible. And I spend as most amount of time with creative entrepreneurs. Even if they're 5-year-old entrepreneurs, they're awesome and they're creative. And they're going, yeah, we could have a lemonade stand. We could paint rocks. This is awesome. And all of that creative juice starts getting you going. Like, if they can paint rocks and make money off of it, what can I do to be able to make money off of this and to create value for somebody else, that somebody else is going to go, yeah, I totally want that. And I will give you these pieces of paper that have value for me. That's really all money exchange is. And I think it's just so important that we understand that we are the future of the universe and we got to take control of that.
Wow. Okay. That was a good way to end. Tell us where people can find you, connect with you, learn more about you.
In sunshine and not in the sunshine. Right. I'll quit hiding from the sun and hopefully the camera will adjust. There you go. Now I'm totally in the dark. You can go to awarenessstrategies.com. We have a present for you, and it's a website audit. Super cool. You can just go, I'm sure the link's going to be in the show notes. You can just go over there, put your website in, your URL, and it'll give you back a 30 to 40 page report, depending on the size of your website. And it'll give you the green lights, the yellow lights, and the red lights from Google and others. Google kind of rules the world right now on that end. But your green lights are, congratulations, you're doing things that are awesome. That's fantastic. Keep doing it. You're getting traffic and your traffic can move smoothly. You get yellow lights, which is they're slowing down your traffic because what you say is on that page might not be on the page, or the links might be broken, things like that. You want to fix those. And red lights are, this is absolutely wrong. You're getting shut down. Go and fix that right away. So you can go and take care of those. If they make sense to you, you can give it to your team and get them to take care of it. Or at the end of it, you'll get a link to connect with me, and I'm happy to go over it with you and explain it in English, what it really means, what you can do with it. And if you want to look at working with us, and if it makes sense, it's awesome.
All right. So tell us about the 5.
There you go. Podcasts. You have multiple ways of getting a hold of me, and love helping you.
So tell us about your 5 podcasts. Where can we learn about, listen, subscribe, do all those things?
Awesome. Well, if you go to iTunes or Apple Podcasts and search Michelle Nedelec, I'm sure I'll come up for all of them. But the Business Ownership Podcast is where you'll find me, and we talk about business all day long. And if there's information that you want to get that's not there, let me know. I'm happy to do a show just on that request.
Wonderful. Michelle, you're a host of information, a wealth of information. And I think everyone who listened today is better for it. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you coming on the show.